All right, welcome to, again, a special webinar here from Hollywood Editing Mentor. My name is Joaquin Elizondo, the creator of the Hollywood Editing Mentor program. It's so great to be here with you on this Friday night. So what else are we going to be doing? We're going to talk about editing and, of course, Narcos Mexico. I want to know who has seen it. Put it in the chat box if you have already binged season 3 of Narcos Mexico. We are going to dive deep into it today. So like I said in the email, there will be spoilers. I gave you that warning. There will be spoilers. So we're going to be showing scenes, talking about them, and other stuff. So, I don't know if you could just turn off your computer, your phone, whatever, when those scenes come up. But we're going to be doing just that. So if you haven't watched it, go out there and watch it. You have a weekend to do it. Very bingeable. But it's great to have you here. Of course, joining us, we have our good friends, like I said, Hugo Diaz and Chris Cavanagh about to join us in a little bit. But before we get to that, though, just want to obviously remind you to hit that like button. Hit that like button here and subscribe to the Hollywood Editing Mentor YouTube channel. I've been doing a lot of videos about not only editing, but also health and wellness. Very important for us as editors. Stay healthy, stay strong. This is a demanding job, I gotta say. You wouldn't think so, right? But it is. It takes a test. Trust me, I busted my shoulder. So very important to take care of yourselves. So subscribe, get notified when I upload more videos. All right, guys. Well, let's just get to it. I want to introduce to you not only some amazing editors, but very good friends of mine. It's almost like family, man. I mean, I've been with these guys for a while. Been doing this show now for a couple seasons. And so we're going to talk about all that today and also just about the newly released season 3 of Narcos Mexico. So join me in welcoming Hugo Diaz and Chris Cavanagh to the show. What's going on, guys? Welcome.
What's up, man? Good to see you again.
Dude, I know. Well, we were talking about...
It's been a minute.
Chris, I don't see him, but we communicate every day. But Hugo, it's been a while, dude.
Yeah, brother. It feels like an eternity ago that we were working in the office together. I mean, what was it? Was it a year and a half? What was the run there, man? I'd have to look at the calendar and see how long this whole season took. But
well, I mean, we'll definitely talk about all this stuff. I mean, like that, Narcos season 3 got started. They started shooting January 2020.
Shoot. Yeah, that's right.
I think somewhere around there. And so we got sent home in March, right? When the pandemic hit.
Mid-March.
And then picked it back up in October of 2020.
Yeah, man. I miss it. I miss our cappuccinos.
Oh, the cappuccinos, the turkey sandwiches from Bergamo.
Yeah. Our long lunches.
Yes. Chris, what's going on, dude? It's been a while, too.
It's like 5:30 today, I think.
Exactly. Well, hey, guys, it's great to have you here. Just honestly, we haven't done this in a while. I haven't hung out in quite a while. So it's cool to do this here now. And so just talk about the the premiere of Narcos Mexico Season 3. Congrats, you guys all did some amazing work. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. I want to ask everyone where everyone is joining us from. Type that in the chat box. Where are you joining us from? I want to know that. I know I saw people from different parts of the world. And so let us know where you are watching from. Say hi. All right, guys. Well, I wanted to start off, first of all, let's just start off. I wanted people to get to know you a little bit, how you got to be editors. But, of course, just kind of quickly tell us, how you got into this and how you ended up on Narcos Mexico. Hugo, let's start with you.
Sure, buddy. Yeah, man. Similar to you guys' story. I came from non-scripted. I came from marketing. I came from documentaries. I worked a lot in behind the scenes stuff. So I found myself having a nice, successful career cutting documentaries and marketing material for features, for films. I worked on Jurassic Park, and I got to work on Breaking Bad, behind the scenes stuff. And it was around the last season of Breaking Bad that I just realized, like, man, I want to be, I was cutting material about Kelly Dixon and about watching Michelle MacLaren direct episodes. And I was like, I need to be working on that. And that's when the bug hit me. And I just, I finally was like, okay, I got to start making the moves to do that. And I got to the point where I was very successful, making the most money I'd ever made in featurettes and marketing and all that stuff. And I was in demand, and I was like, I'm going to walk away. And it was a little scary, but suddenly, our good friend Andrew Sepperly, who I had worked with in the marketing world, was already at Narcos Mexico. A spot opened up that was perfect for me, which was an archival position. We have a lot of archival footage in Narcos, and I speak Spanish, and it was just the perfect fit. And I knew like I had to take the opportunity as soon as it came. So I took it. And that was my first scripted gig, was as an archival assistant. And it was very much in my wheelhouse since I'd worked in documentary and used to managing all that footage. And then a little bit, and I told my wife, I remember having that conversation with her, listen, I'm going to take a big pay cut, and this is really important to me. And we had just had a baby. And I was like, but you know what? I think I was kind of naive, but I said 2 seasons. I said, give me a couple of years. I'm gonna get back to the editing chair in 2 years. And I had no idea what I was talking about. But I did it. I took the job, and we could dive more into it if we have time, but that's what it took. It took 2 seasons, and I found myself back in the editing chair. So it was a lot of luck and a lot of preparation. My career leading up to that point, just kind of the timing just hit perfectly, and the people that were there, they're supporting us. Like the show we talked about, like all of us we jumped in the editing chair on that show. So obviously there's something about that show and the people that work there that are very supportive, and it's a very family environment. And it was just the perfect alchemy to like get me to that point. And yeah, man, it was great. I miss it. It's I spent 4 seasons on Narcos, 2 as an assistant and 2 as an editor, and it's been great. It's I'll never forget it.
Now, there's a lot of things I want to talk about there. I mean, like that could take up like the 2 hours right there, or whatever,
Sure,
but first of all, you did start on Narcos Colombia.
Yep, I started season 3 of Narcos Colombia. I started as the archival assistant. So, no one thinks. I mean, that position on that show, it really feels like an entry level position.
Yeah.
Because you have the assistants working on all the episodes, and then you kind of feel like you're below them in a way. But the good thing about that position is that you have your fingers in all the episodes. Right. So you get to be in the room with all the editors. You get to have the conversations with them. I got invited into the writer's room, and they downloaded the entire episode to me, or the entire season to me. And they were sharing books with me and sharing information and data, and trying to get me up to speed on what's the season about. What are all the main historical beats that we're going to hit in the season? And I had the editors come into me saying, Hugo, is this character a real character? Like, who is this character in my episode? What can you tell me about him? And I got to have a very close relationship with the editors and explain to them, like, well, here's what happened. And this is the year that this person got arrested. And here's the footage I have. And I have this great shot of so-and-so getting put in handcuffs. And sometimes it would be like, oh, can you pull selects for me? And it's like, sure, yeah, here's the selects, and here you go, and here's a sequence of selects. And then sometimes they get so busy, it'd be like, hey, can you cut something together for me? So now I'm starting to cut the montages of these really cool, archival sequences that we have in the episodes. And some of those, sometimes those could be the coolest parts of the show, and I get to play in that sandbox. And then what happened really quickly is, one day we had that great main title sequence with the Pablo seasons, right? And all of a sudden we're going into season 3, and they said, well, we can't use that same main title. It's all footage of Pablo, but we want the same concept. And the main title company was struggling creatively on how to take us there. And because I have the background in cutting montages and featurettes and all this kind of creative content, as we call it in the industry, within a couple of weeks of being in that position, Andrew and our post producer Tim King turned to me and they said, like, you could do this, right? Like, you can cut, you can make a main title. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Like, sure. And then all of a sudden I was the main title guy, and all of a sudden the rest of the season, now I'm not only interacting with the editors, but now I'm sitting with the showrunner and I'm showing him my cuts of the main title. And he's saying, like, oh yeah, let's do this. Like, you lead the charge, you take creative control over the main title. And then the main title company will just kind of support you and help you with graphics and help you with timing. And we, and it became like a really great way to be in the room and get that relationship with the writers and the showrunners and the editors. And then, all of a sudden an assistant has to go on vacation or do whatever at the end of the season, and they slot you into that spot. So I got really lucky. And then the next season, they're like, do it again. Do the title again. And I was like, okay, this is what happens when you... well,
you're good, huh?
Do something. Now it's like a lot of pressure. Like, okay, here we go again. And again, like, same thing. Like, you lead the charge. And so, yeah, you just find, I think, for the people that are looking for the ways to get into the room to build those relationships, you just say yes to whatever you feel like you're ready for, right? So that was something that was in my wheelhouse. I was willing to do it. I was, ready to jump into that position. And, whether it be that, or it just happened that during season 1 of Narcos Mexico, we had Scoot doing the voiceover. And for whatever reason, the showrunner just really liked my voice, right?
Yeah.
So I started to being pulled into the room. It'd be like, oh, Hugo, we need you over here because we have the pilot of Narcos Mexico, and it starts with this giant voiceover sequence, and we need to nail it, and we got to get it right. So now I'm in the room, with Ian, our editor that cut the pilot of Narcos Mexico, and we have the showrunner, and they're directing me on how to do my voice and how to and then that became, what Scoot kind of based his voiceover reading stuff on, and I even got to go to the voiceover sessions, and I think that was really our showrunner trying to mess with Scoot. He was getting a little insecure about it, and he's like, come to the voiceover session, and I want to point to you and be like, that's the guy that you're recording. You better do a good job because he's standing right over there. But so any opportunity you can to just get in the room to obviously there's reading the room and all these skills that you need to learn. And for me, that first season of getting on as the archival assistant, I knew that I was going to just listen and I was going to pay attention, because I had never been in a scripted show's editing room, and I'd never worked in that world. I'd been in the chair and I'd been in stressful situations, producers over your shoulder, like asking you to cut things and all that. Like, I'd had a decade of that. But so I just kind of stayed back and hung back, and I just listened and I watched and I took notes and I learned as much as I could, knowing that I was, like I said, 2 seasons and then I'm going to switch over, and somehow it happened. But that only happened because I stated that I made that a priority, and you write it down, you write down your goals, you tell people. And you communicate that to people without being pushy. You just say, this is my goal. I want to do this. I want to edit. I want to be in the chair. And then you start taking actions that will get you to that goal. Because you say, well, if I'm going to be in the chair in 2 years, what does that look like? Well, so sometimes it means you make requests or you have conversations that put you out of your comfort zone. And because you said, well, this is the only way that I will get there, this is how someone acts if they're going to transition to direct or editor in Pavlovian slip there. One day, not yet, but yeah. So you start taking actions, towards that goal, and that's what happened. And thank God, man, knock on wood, that I was on that show, and those people that were supporting me, and amazing editors that were just so supportive and just like, yeah, man, take a scene, sure, grab a scene, come on in, sit down if you want to watch, whatever, So yeah, excited. And Chris, I know you had the same experience where you got to come in and just, get kind of shown the ropes, and that was your experience on Narcos, was to get to move up.
Yeah, like hitting the ground running, and that Hugo is a masterclass right there. I think.
Yeah, I know. I was like, hey.
Brackets around there, and that was.
We're done.
That really is, so much of everything of the best way that you could do that kind of a transition. I do disagree with you when you use the word luck twice, because neither one of you guys are lucky. You're that good. I mean, I've worked alongside you. I've seen your cuts. I've seen how you handle yourself in the environment. Luck is not really a part of it with you guys. It is all talent and hard work. And I've been fortunate to learn from people and to be in that environment. And there's a lot of overlap with Hugo's story in that I was also spent over a decade in unscripted, and I'd done some scripted stuff and short film stuff, and always wanted to get back to it. But I was really making my bread and butter in the documentary space or in the cable crime show space, and was making a good living there. But slowly but surely, even with documentary experience, I was loving documentaries and sort of doing the other stuff to really pay the bills and doing fine. But it was getting repetitive, and I always knew that I wanted to do scripted, and I felt like I'll get back to it. And I was living in New York at the time, and it's much trickier to get into it in New York than it is out here. And our second kid was on the way, my wife and I, and so we sort of knew we were coming out here anyway. But I remember sort of the moment where I knew I had to make a leap. It was television was changing. It was 2014. I was sitting on my couch and I was watching Transparent. And there was this high drama scene in Transparent, and I remember I was gripping the side of my couch. I was just gripping it and watching the scene. It was as good as any feature I'd seen recently or thereafter. And I just said to myself, I was like, I have to give this a shot. I was like, if this the feature world felt a little bit closed to me. I'd done feature stuff before, small indie stuff, but when TV started to open up. And become sort of, what I wanted to do. I felt like the really good drama was on TV. I said, I've got to give it a shot. And I also had a similar conversation with my wife, but it was 2 years later. And our daughter, our second child, was 2 or 3 months old. So, a great time to tell her I'm going to take a massive pay cut. But she, supported me then, and she's, supported me to this day. And, that has been huge. That has made all the difference, as they say. But yeah, it was worth it to me. It was worth it to make the lifestyle sacrifices, to spend less money on things, and to have to make choices to be able to take steps forward. In this space. I started out on Cobra Kai as an assistant and did 2 seasons there and had a great experience there, and got to do everything from cutting to all the nitty gritty details that you have to do as an assistant. And then when I came into Narcos, because Joaquin, you and I had met, and I've told the story of you and me meeting, and I told it on the podcast, and so we sort of started our journeys together. And kept in touch, and you brought me along to Narcos, and and then it was just I could get more into. I'll pause so you can get a word in. But meeting the crew on Narcos, I mean, it was like no other in terms of I'd kind of like to talk about that dynamic in that sort of the opposite of competition. Everybody was expected to work hard and to do their jobs and to help each other, and I felt like I'm going to fit right in. And so, that was sort of easy to see that from the beginning, although there were things that were very intimidating going into the environment, to begin with. So I'll let you take it from there, but I could obviously.
We can even know. I mean, such great stories, there, because look, I mean, like we could certainly we talk about editing, and we people might think we're just cutting images together and whatnot, but there's this other side of this career, right, that probably most people don't know, and the sacrifices they have to make to break in first, and then kind of navigate that career and look for opportunities, and also be ready for those opportunities, right? In both of your cases, my case as well, it was like it just comes up. It's like, you got to say, are you ready or not? And if you are, you got to back it up. You got to step up. Because here's like a big opportunity in case of editing main title, editing an episode. And it's this feeling, right? It's like, oh my God, right? I'm in the chair now. And, you just gotta do your best, and this is your opportunity, right? And it's like I always tell people, it's like, when are you ready? I don't know if you're ever ready. I mean, it's just like you just gotta dive in. You just gotta tackle it. I mean, obviously be prepared as much as you can, but these things just pop up. The same way to me, like, Narcos Mexico. I mean, like, I got a random, I posted about it. I got a random email from what was Tim King. He said, "Hey, man, like, can you use your researcher's name?" I had done a documentary with the day I met El Chapo, and it's like, yeah, sure. How about, hey, do you need an assistant over there? And then he's like, yeah, you speak Spanish, and are you in the union? And then I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, come meet me on Monday. And it's like, all right. I mean, I hadn't really done a full season of a scripted show at that point, and I mean, I still was, green. Obviously, got the job, and even that, like, I was like, man, like, there's a lot of stuff. Trust me, I probably went to Hugo a lot. I know I did. I bugged the hell out of you, dude. It's like, how do you do this, dude? That's the thing. It's like important to have such a support system around you. I tell people, it's like, hey, like, assistants are pretty cool, man. Like, they got your back. And so, but you just dive in. You just figure it out. You figure it out. Go in with their confidence and just figure it out. But hey, guys,
man,
what's
you're
up?
all in it together. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of like knocking on the doors, like, Joaquin, what's going on? Like, how do I do this? What's going on, man? Do you know how to do this? And we're like, no, let's go ask someone else.
Someone must know. And if not, we have good old Google there to figure it out.
Google.
Yeah. And it's like, Joaquin, when I was, I would assist you. But if Hugo, if you needed something, or if, whether it was in the office briefly or in the office, or if you were, slacking me like, hey, we're doing this scene, and do you have something similar, X, Y, and Z? So like that, like that is as high a priority as anything, right? So it's like the people that you support and the people that you want to work with and the people that you want to emulate. For me going in, it's like it was always easy to go. It was always easy to go to work. So it was like I'm working around people who are doing exactly what I want to do and who are good people. And so it was like motivation was never a problem.
Yeah. On a show like this, you gotta, there's a lot, like I said, like sometimes I get pulled to go do voiceover for someone else's episode. And sometimes I'd knock on Joaquin's door and be like, hey man, there's a slang, someone's using the Spanish slang and I have no idea what they're saying. Can you please listen to it? And then sometimes you wouldn't know. And I'd be like, oh man, like what are they? Oh wait, John. Okay, so John's from Venezuela, but he's also lived in Spain. So let me go ask him because that might be like a South American slang here. And then we together try to be like, I have no idea what they're saying.
Dude, I remember one time there was something we had a line. Someone from a Colombian actor said something. Yeah. He said it so fast. I mean, no one could understand. No one. And then our good friend, Andy Diaz comes in. He's like, oh yeah, he's saying this. I'm like, of course, because he knew right away, right? But no one in the office is like, I have no idea what this guy's saying.
It's great when the showrunner turns to you and be like, you know Spanish? What's he saying right here?
It's like, well, no, you don't get it, man. Wait, hold on. Let me tell you.
On my first day, that's what happened. On my very first day, I actually came in just for a week to cover for John or whatever. He was archival at the moment, and he went on vacation. So I came in to cover for him. On the very first day, they pulled me over. They're like, "Hey, come here. Listen to this line. What are they saying here?" And I was like, "All right, listen, Diaz. Okay, remember Spanish? Well, okay. Okay, yeah. They said this," and then they'd be like, thumbs up, and I'm like, I made it.
Well, I talk about
where's
the
my
language. The language, I mean, Chris, I mean, you can certainly talk about that.
I could, cut me off because I could definitely talk about that. It was, I had actually, I had interviewed for Narcos Mexico season 2 to fill in because, Ian needed an assistant. And I did not end up getting it. And it made the most sense for, one person on the team to speak fluently, and neither Ian or I did. So that was, not necessarily the right fit, but I had stayed in touch with Tim. And, you had introduced me to Tim, our producer. And so, you and me together, was a much more sort of succinct fit. And I remember, I took Spanish and I can understand it much better than I can speak it. I didn't do well when I took it, but my daughter is in Spanish immersion, so I'm always trying to talk with her in Spanish as much as possible. But I certainly don't speak it natively, and I remember being intimidated about that. And I remember, you must have had 4 conversations with me trying to reassure me, like, it's okay, like, it's all right, it's there. It's like, we've got other people, and, everybody helps everybody, and, we just, we work it out. I was like, okay, if you think I can do this, I think I can do this, and we'll move forward with it. And then I came in like a week before I started in February 2020, because I just wanted to like say hello and like get the lay of the land. And you took me in and you showed me, it's episode 2, spoiler, but we're okay with spoilers. We've already said that.
Said it, warning.
Yeah. So it's Enadina's wedding. And it's like in the back room before Benjamin comes in and talks to her. And, the sumptuous costumes and all these bridesmaids, and they're chattering at each other in Spanish. And I was like, I'm screwed. I was like, I'm dead. I was like, I'm screwed. How am I ever going to be responsible, to make this kind of come together? And so that was, sort of working forward from there. It's like, well, it's okay. It's like there are people there who can translate. Not only that, but like just like what they're saying, what the bridesmaids are saying in the chatter, that's not necessarily going to be subtitled and be sort of featured in the show and so on and so forth. And again, it's scripted. If this was documentary, it'd be a different world. And so you take the pieces that you can grab onto, and then you sort of do your best. And by the end of it, when I was bumped up to editor, and I had Charlie, who's the archival assistant, and they bumped him up. And Charlie did like a miraculous job helping me subtitle all of the dailies. So anytime I was working with a showrunner, I could match back to the dailies, and they were covered. And sure, we might have to work with the translation here and there. But it is possible. Like the things that you don't think are possible. If you I say this to my son, which he's learning, he's a great reader now. He's learning to read. We say, back up and break it down. Back up and break it down. And so if you just kind of repeat that process and just stay positive and believe that you can do it, it'll work out.
You're a brave man, Chris Cavanagh.
Yeah, man.
I can't imagine like going onto a show as an assistant for the first time and like, a show in Mandarin or something.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
And like type what I think is there. Because we have to say on our show, we could talk about how, I know you want to talk about the process and everything, but there's a lot of ad-libbing. There's a lot of, the actors taking the script and they throw it into their own words. There's a lot of slang that gets thrown out and a lot of like interpretation and extra stuff that goes into to the frustration of the writers sometimes. And then it's up to us to consolidate that and try to like make it fit. And it's just the reality of of American writers writing for Spanish speaking actors. And that's kind of a big part of the show. And it's very unique to this show. It's not something you run into in other shows. Usually it's a very interesting problem, creative part of editing that you don't always have to run into.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't know that there is, our writers don't speak Spanish.
They don't. Right. We have a French production company.
Yeah.
Written by American non-speaking writers and then translated into Spanish and then sent over the border.
Yeah.
And then you have Spanish speaking, very amazing talented directors, feature film directors from all over Latin America directing Spanish speaking actors. And sometimes it comes back and it's not always exactly what's on the page. And
you didn't say this. Wait, what? That's the beauty of the show. So many
stuff's revealed. Yeah. But you know what? Yeah. It adds authenticity for sure when they do that.
It does.
And we make it work and we figure it out. And it's a unique problem.
Yeah, no, and a shout out to the most amazing crew down there in Mexico City. I mean, those guys, those people, they're warriors. I swear, the best crew ever.
The
A-team over there, yeah. Cast and crew, just amazing. Amazing. Even watching this season, I was like, man, these performances are great. Not only performances, I mean, they're awesome. The production design, the attention to detail. I mean, it's like people are like texting me. Obviously, I grew up in Tijuana, and are telling me, man, like, they got this so right. I mean, the details. It's amazing.
Yeah, man. And, and so many characters, so many locations. They're out on location every other day. They're traveling to a new place. And and the stuff that we get back is just, it's really superb. It's really amazing what they pull off. And
shout out to VFX too, like, you know, guys like Andrew and everybody else who's you know, supervising that, because you know, that plane crash looks really, really, really good. And there's macro stuff and there's micro stuff. I mean,
go watch the opening to the teaser, the season, or episode 1 of season 3. You'll see what we're talking about.
yeah.
But hey, so we want to move it along. Obviously, not talking about the show. I think it's time that people want to watch something. We can talk about it. Before we get to that, though, I want to say, we're going to be taking your questions. So definitely put them in the chat box. Anything you want to know about, well, what we can talk about. But definitely hit us up with your questions here in the chat box. We're going to get to those quickly. And also just give some shout outs here. Let's see where people are joining us from San Diego. We got LA in the house. Tijuana. ¿Qué huele? We got Long Island, New York, Michigan. What's going on? Got Cambodia?
Wait a second.
I've been to Cambodia. It's
Miami.
one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
It's great.
What time is it in Cambodia?
I know it.
Got to be 12 hours. It's got to be 7:30 in the morning.
New Jersey here. This is awesome. People from all over the world. People all over the world love Narcos. All right. So let's jump on into some scenes, and talk about them. We'll start off, Hugo, with a scene that you chose. Can you tell us a little bit about the scene that we are about to watch?
So we are going to talk about the shootout at the end of episode 3. Vog was our director, Wagner. Great job on the episode. One of the reasons also that I wanted to point out this scene, though, is kind of what you talked about, the crew. I mean, you know, this scene was supposed to be shot. This is the Christine's Disco, which is an actual event that happened. And this was a big set piece for us. And we were literally about to start shooting this sequence when COVID happened. So we ended up having to wait a year or so later.
Yes.
And we shot it last. They shot it one of the last things we shot. And they found a great outdoor venue where they could shoot this big shootout. And they did an amazing job. Unfortunately, Vogue couldn't actually go on location, but we have a second unit director, Leo. And we have I don't know if a lot of people know this, but because the show spans because we cover so many locations and we're always out on location, we don't usually, make sets. So they do have to go out, and the crew gets spread all over Mexico. And because of that, the director isn't always there on every scene. So we have a second unit team, and they did an amazing job with this sequence. It was a tricky one because, we have so many characters interacting. We have multiple layers of the location. We have an upstairs, we have a downstairs, we have our Sinaloa team outside, and they're waiting. Hopefully everyone's seen the episode, and they're waiting to go in. They're dressed as cops. And we have an unsuspecting Tijuana cartel partying inside. And the interesting about this sequence, the interesting challenge, other than just the shootout itself, was that we have a character named Baron who was going to take the center stage on this sequence, and all of a sudden he's going to be elevated to pretty much our hero for the Tijuana gang, and we had never really spent time with this character. Right? Like, he didn't really have a lot of dialogue before this moment. And I was, with so many characters, it's not always clear, like, who, like, he's obviously part of the security team for Tijuana, but you don't necessarily always remember that information in the moment. So we had to kind of make sure that we set up the sequence and we laid all the chess pieces out before the chaos happens. And that was the most important thing for us that I found, is as I started cutting the scene together, was I started getting the footage, and we had 4 days to shoot this, I believe. some rehearsal thrown in too, but they were out there for 4 nights, and I was getting the footage every morning. And I was in a lot of communication with Leo, our second unit director, and he was in communication with Vog, and he was trying to emulate Wagner's style that he has set up, which is a very unique style from the other episodes, but he wanted it to feel very like free-flowing documentary, like this energy of the camera always moving, which was a really interesting challenge, Joaquin. I guess we could also talk about that too. But that, I mean, that doc, but which is probably good because we had documentary background. So
exactly.
Right. So we're used to just looking at lots of footage and not always knowing when you open a shot where it's going to go, or it's not always a close-up. Sometimes it changes to a wide. But anyway, so we started putting this puzzle together, and I realized like, oh, when we see Baron for the first time, and if you guys watched the episode, you remember he sees the police officers off to the side. And he's actually the first character that notices them, and he starts to approach Benjamin. Benjamin gives him money and tells him to go pay off these guys. And we have to get this character to the point where he can literally just walk up with no dialogue. He can walk up to these cops and shoot them in the face. And then the action sequence starts. So that was an interesting challenge to like make sure that we understood what was happening in his head. And in order to do that, we needed to set him up. So, I was on the phone with Leo, and I found it interesting. We could talk about this too. This is very interesting. A situation where the editor has to raise his hand and say, hey guys, I don't think we have everything we need. Right. And sometimes that could be an uncomfortable position to be in. Luckily at that point, again, this is my 4th season on the show, and Carlo is our showrunner at this point. And I called him up and I said like, hey man, I don't think we have everything we need to set this up. So far, everything is looking good, but just those little beats that we need to just make sure that everyone understands what's happening before the shots are fired. And he said, like, I support you. Like, call Leo, let him know. And I had a conversation with Leo, and he said, all right, like I had already had these kind of situations before with Leo, where it's a very collaborative situation where I say, like, I think we need this, and he'll say, like, okay, I can get this, I can get that. And he said, okay. And to his credit, he was like, tell me exactly what you need. Like, what's the shot? Where am I pointing the camera? What do I need? And I said, I need him. I need to see Benjamin. I need to see the other guys sitting around that table. And I need to see Baron behind them, watching them. And he's this protector. He's there. And even though it's subtle and he's right there where he's behind them, we need to understand that he's there to protect them. Because without that, as soon as you see Baron start to walk through the crowd and look and creep up behind Benjamin, my initial thought was like, oh, he's about to kill Benjamin. It was like this weird thing that you don't think about when you're writing the script. You don't think about when you're storyboarding. It's not until you see the footage sometimes where you go, oh, I could interpret this the wrong way. And especially on a show like Narcos, when there's so many characters and things move fast, you want to make sure that the audience is clear about what's happening and who's where and what side everyone's on. So I didn't want him to just for that one, maybe those couple of viewers that aren't always paying attention. Like, who is this guy? Why is he walking up to Benjamin, creeping up behind him like that? So we ended up getting Leo got me some great shots of bodyguards, and he got me a couple, and I used like every shot that he gave me of Baron, like watching over them, and they're subtle. They're just kind of like every once in a while the camera just kind of pops over to him, and we see that he's there and he's looking around and he's watching. But those little moments become so important, right? They tell the story, and then because then he's about to literally walk up, and again with no dialogue, he's going to look at these cops, and we have to. And there was we spent most of our time in the shootout just getting that moment right. Of the camera zooms in, we push it on him, the sound goes out, he's looking at the cops, we go back to his face. What is he seeing? What is he understanding? And we start to see his process, and he's understanding what's happening. And there's a little bit of a cheat because we pop out and we see Chapo outside saying like, we're about to go in, even though the character isn't seeing that and hearing that. It's this little bit of a cheat of like we're letting the audience know what Baron is understanding.
Right.
And then we could just let that Depeche Mode song just fucking go crazy and just let the bullets fly.
Yeah.
And as long as we understand where everyone is and who's getting shot at, then the chess pieces are laid out.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And that was the most important thing. And that was the most challenging bit. And that's the thing that we messed with the most, is just like the part up until that point. Cause we could, we understand like boom, boom, boom. Someone shooting a gun on the other side, cause and effect, right? We have to see where the bullets are going, who's shooting at who, like that's all very important. But you could mess with that with the footage nonstop. But if you don't have the pieces to set it up, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, again, I made the call and Leo was like, yeah, man, if you think this is important, we're going to get this done for you. We'll make sure it happens. And I had the support of the showrunner saying like, yeah, because yeah, sometimes it's a little strange for them to say, well, we don't have a lot of time and this is going to cost us some effort to do this because we've already moved on. Are you sure we need this? And it's that moment of like, yes.
Yes. Better to get it.
Say yes, and hopefully they get it, and hopefully I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Because you got 100 people over there in Mexico trying to get this done, but that's part of the job.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the thing. It's also there's the communication managing.
Yeah. You have directors calling you or texting you saying, "Hey, take a look at this scene. Did I get it?" And you have to look at the scene and be like, yes or no.
Make a decision.
This kind of like, I don't know, shrug your shoulders, like, I think you got it. Like that kind of stuff doesn't work.
No.
They have to. They want you to know, or they need to know that they got it, or they didn't, and Absolutely. They want an answer. And sometimes that takes just that understanding of being on a show. Again, because I was on the show for 4 seasons, I knew that I was going to be sitting in that room with Carlo, or digitally, he'd be looking at his face, and he'd say, "Do we have this?" And I would say, "I don't think we have this." Mm-hmm. Right. So I knew what he wanted. I knew what he was going to need in the room, and some simple communication, and we got those little extra pieces that we needed. So yeah, that's a big part of the relationship with the showrunner, is having their voice in your ear while you're cutting. And still being able to say, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show an interpretation that I have as an editor, but I also have to know what he's going to be looking for, and know that I have to have that ready, or know that that's an option for me when he asks me, "Do we have this?"
Yeah.
And I could say, "We do, actually."
Yeah. No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
Well. Hey, man, I think we should just watch it. All right. You can't hear it, probably can't hear it, but people are clapping for you. They're loving it. Awesome, man. Congrats. What an amazing scene there. Man, obviously, people definitely hit us up with your questions here for Hugo. Put them in the chat box. But, first thing, Hugo, what I mentioned, I think for me, like the transition there, the emotion comes out, obviously, when they shoot Ana Dina's husband, right? It's at that point... Yep. It's like for a second there, the music cuts out, bam, 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 it drops, and then we come into some heavy, aggressive score, right? More erratic, and then we go into the tunnel, whatever, the hallway. You can then kind of enjoy the silence, kind of creeps up still, reverby. Mm-hmm. The camera work is inside the kitchen is just amazing. I mean, it's just so frenetic, but at that point, it just shifts, right? And it's so important about action scenes. Sure, I mean, action is great, right? But the emotion there is kind of like what you need to bring out. That's what really, stands out of, it's not just about cutting cool action. Certainly that's a big part of it, but you're still trying to communicate that emotion. But anyways, that's the one thing for me that really, I mean, amongst obviously a lot of things, but one thing that I want to point out, but
that was good. No, exactly. That it becomes a very subjective, emotional moment. That's what changes everything, right? Is that all of a sudden a family member, and he has a new husband that we just saw. She got married. All of a sudden now he's killed, and the stakes had just raised so much higher. And we treated that moment of going down into the basement area and the kitchen as all of a sudden now they're going down. Deep down, and all of a sudden now it just becomes like this nightmare scenario where like now you don't know who's going to get killed next, right? Like that drama of like now they're being hunted, they don't have any guns, Barron's not there with them to protect them anymore, someone just got killed, and we just started like we really pushed and the sound mix is great there. Our post team did a great job of just like, making it feel like this very subjective, echoey kind of like nightmare situation where you never know where the next person's going to pop out. And the footage is great. I lost my mind when I saw that kitchen shot. It's the one shot where we follow them into the kitchen, and then everything starts flying and all practical, like everything being like blown, amazing. All the food and the lettuce, everything flying around, and it's the real actors doing it. Shout out to them. That was great. That was so fun to cut. I had such a good time. That's the kind of stuff where it's like, all right, like I can spend several days just sitting here cutting that over and over. And yeah, man, Depeche Mode, all of a sudden it gets stuck in your head for days and days and days. That's all you're hearing in your head, going round and round and round.
I have it on my playlist now. I mean, actually, a lot of music from this season, or just in Narcos in general, always great music, is on my playlist. I gotta say,
and that was scripted, right? The writers, they're very specific about the music that they want. And a lot of times they write the songs that they love and they write the bands that they love in there. And it's great to like be able to go back in time and like revisit this music and sometimes do like a really great action sequence. And I remember at some point in my first edit, as soon as the shots were fired, I cut out the Depeche Mode and I go to score because Gustavo, we love Gustavo's score. It's so good. And I switched to score. And our showrunner Carlos, like, no, man, Depeche Mode the entire time. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, the whole time. And I'm like, cool. Like, even though the song like ends, we're just gonna keep playing it. And we're like, yeah. So then once they get out in that hallway, it just becomes an echo, and it just says repeating itself over and over and over, and it just becomes this really cool, creepy echo. And I was like, you know what? Good call, man. That was good. I love it. I wish they kept it longer. Actually, I wish it lasted all the way to the very last moment. But
we have we actually had a question that from Dimitri. He says, "Was Enjoy the Silence always in the edit, or was another temp track used before?" But you clearly answered that.
It was written in the script that way. It was always there, and it was it's a big moment of like, when do we start Depeche Mode? When does it crescendo into this big like beat? So you're playing with that a lot from the first moment, and then again, like I said, like the showrunner our writers loved having that be the track for the shootout, and I thought it was a great choice. It was great.
Yeah, usually it definitely a show that plays with contrast, right? Especially with music. It's just
you would never think like, oh, I'm going to score a shootout with Depeche Mode.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like cutting a scene in episode 7, season 1, where Rafa kills those DEA agents, and we edited that with Monty, and it's like the first thought was like, let's you score this dark score. It's like, oh, how about Monty? How about we use this silly cumbia song as these guys are getting butchered? It's like, oh damn, right? But that's not the first thing you think of.
And that's a good thing. Another great thing about this show also is that because everybody has been on for the 6 seasons, even back in like season 3 or season 4, I remember the writers and the producers coming to me and saying like, hey man, like, we've done a lot of this stuff now. We're in season 4, we're in season 5. Like, let's change it up. Let's try something crazy. And I remember during one of the montages, I just started like incorporating split screens and sliding shots in and out, and something we'd never done before. And I just started playing around and be like, what if we do this? And let's try to do split screens and sliding and these like boxes. And I just started like, because I knew at that point like they were willing to just like experiment and get creative, and they loved it. And I was like, awesome. Like I love that kind of stuff. I love when they can just be totally responsive and be open to just like any kind of crazy idea, and they are, and they love it.
We have another question here from Nick Radford. Hugo, how long did it take for you for your first assembly of that scene?
Good question. Probably, I don't know. I mean, a couple of days. Like I said, we were getting these where they shot over 3 or 4 nights. So we were getting the footage every morning and slowly just kind of assembling the pieces little by little. So, and because it was at the very end, we had a little bit more time to play with it and get it right. And so I don't know, maybe, a few days, and then just like anything, you sit with the director, and they have their own interpretation of it, and you go over that, and then the producers have their own interpretation, and it's always shifting, and you kind of have to like shift your subjective idea of what the scene is and how to get through it based on who's sitting with you, and you have to kind of just like be open to just changing it and flowing it. And it's just like this dance of like, all right, now let's try it this way. Let's try it from this character's perspective. What if we go through the shootout just from this point of view or that point of view? So yeah, it's always just shifting.
One more question here from George Lopez, not the actor. He's not
the George Lopez.
The George Lopez. Hugo, beautiful work. Did you do the reverb of the song going into the background in the edit? So talk a little bit. It mentioned kind of here how sound design works when we are in the edit, and then what happens down the line as we turn it over to the sound team.
Yeah. Yes, the reverb was always there. We at least for me personally, I'm sure you guys are the same way, where if I'm going to show something, I want it to be a complete thought, a complete idea, right? Like I want to take it all the way to its extreme, where if I say like, okay, if I'm going to make this a nightmare scenario, once they get down and they go deep down and someone's been killed now, I'm going to push it to its extreme, and I'm going to present a complete thought of what this should be like. And then it's up to the sound team now to kind of like take it and try to replicate that, or maybe like push it even further. And sometimes like that, in that situation, sometimes they do something that's too realistic, where they go, okay, this is what it would sound like if the music was playing on the dance floor and they're downstairs and they go down below. This is what it would really sound like. And you have to say, no, let's push it. And I know they go, well, they might not hear the music down there. And it's like, I know, but let's really get into their heads. And this is an interpretation of what's in their minds, right? Or what's happening in their heads. And they're just hearing this echo over and over and over. And so you have to really, sometimes you have to push them. Sometimes they take it and they do what you did, and they do it even better. And that's exciting. I love that when you hear something, you're just like, oh man, they've taken an idea, a kernel of an idea, and they've just like taken it to like, it's to this higher potential than it could have been. And that also comes with the collaboration with them, right? Because you spend several seasons working with them, and they get to know what you're looking for in your style and stuff. So yeah, they did a great job. I think this thing came out really well.
No, man, it was it's pretty awesome.
It's an awesome scene.
Pretty great. Let me see here. We should probably then now see if anyone else has any more questions for Hugo here. We'll gladly take them. Because we gotta watch one more scene here from Chris Cavanagh in a bit. Figuring this out real quick. I'm doing a live switching here, guys. So bear with me. Here we are.
We're doing it live.
Oh man. Well, hey, dude. I mean, awesome scene, dude. I mean, I could watch that over and over. I mean, it's just amazing work there. So congratulations once again, Chris. Let's talk about the scene you picked. Can you kind of introduce it for us?
Yeah. I'll set it up just briefly, and then maybe we'll roll it, and then I can comment on it.
Sounds good.
After we can chat about it. So this is Victor Tapia, our corrupt cop, who has not only become sort of a secret spy for the DEA at this point, but he's also sort of on his own trying to solve some murders of women, of vulnerable people. He's sort of taken it on himself that he's going to figure out who's killing women, and he has slipped off the edge to the point where he's become part of the system that he was trying to combat. And so this is the scene where he's working at a brothel, and his world has been turned upside down. and he is more or less underwater.
All right, guys. So we're gonna now again give you here a couple seconds to walk away from wherever you're watching. We're gonna check out here a scene from episode 8 of Narcos Mexico season 3. Awesome, man. Congratulations again. Crowd was going crazy. That was great, man. Again, of course, awesome music as always. Talk a little bit about like the kind of preparing for the scene. I guess having conversations with Carlo before it was even shot, and then opening up that bin, looking at the dailies, creating that assembly, and then as it went through the rounds of working with the director and working with Carlo, what it evolved into.
Yeah, I mean, we versioned and versioned. This is one of the scenes that, even before you had moved on and handed the episode over to me, you had let me cut from scratch, a few of the Victor scenes. And so had taken this one all the way. And, I'm really interested in these Narcos characters from a perspective of, are they spiritually alive? Are they spiritually dead? Or are they spiritually in purgatory? And watching them sort of move between one pole or another. Sometimes they will hang out in purgatory and they will come back alive. Sometimes they will, be spiritually dead and stay dead. Sometimes they have chances to move back and forth. And Victor's character he's slipping away here spiritually. And I think of Enadina, I think of the last scene that we watched where Claudio dies. Spiritually, to me, she's dead after that. And Ramon, you can't kill spiritually. He is, he's kind of he's playing with a turtle, even when the world is falling apart. And Benjamin is in purgatory, and he's sort of, he's the fulcrum there. And so back to Victor, the world is caving in. And he is, Carlo and I talked a lot about him being underwater at this point. And we talked about Vicente being sort of, the Mad Hatter, that he's hallucinating this. And he's saying to himself, like, how did I get here? How did I end up in this world where I was trying to help, women to not get killed by, murderers and, these poor women who are, halfway between maquillas and these brothels. How did it become that he is an enforcer, and what would that feel like? And so a lot of the audio is played sort of with that underwater feeling. And they were looking for a song, and I'm proud to say that I found that song. It's the song translates to "Everything Has Its End," nice. And I think you either love it or you hate it. And I do love it. And
you found that song, Chris?
I found that song, and I
talk about that.
Yeah. So it's this band Modulos, and it's Todo Tiene Su Fin. And
how did you find? I mean, talk about that.
So they said, we need something. It was like, how can we? We had, Carlo had mentioned, Vicente as the Mad Hatter, and that Victor is sort of, he's losing himself, and it's that out of body experience of like, how the fuck did I get here? How did things end up like this? And so when they sort of opened the door to a more hallucinatory, perspective, I went into, I literally just started searching YouTube for, sort of the psychedelia, that had, a Spanish, sort of flavor to it. And, one of my proudest things is that, this band somewhere that recorded this track, I think back in the 60s or the 70s, is getting like a really nice, case of champagne from bobbing up in Narcos.
Love it, man.
But yeah, so that was really where I was coming from. Was working with with Victor, and like what's his perspective and how is he feeling, and like, oh my God, how did it get here? How did it get to the point where the thing that I was trying to do, I've now ended up on the other side, and I'm working against that goal, and I'm trapped. I'm trapped there. And so that was the perspective going into the scene. And, we versioned it a million times. And, but, it was a kind of a joy every time, because there were some limitations. Carlo had really wanted, some slow-mo, some 48 frames footage, and it really would have helped. And, we talk about a lot of things with, COVID and the series and they got us so much, they couldn't get us everything, and we couldn't always get everything. And so we had to work with what we had, and we did. And so yeah, so that's sort of where we ended up. And I think it's I've been watching the whole season this week, and I think with Victor, especially because he's such a different character in Narcos, I think when we were all working with his scenes, you're like, is this going to work? Like, is this going to work? And I'm really finding that he's working across the board, and his character's coming through. So it's been kind of a delight to watch that.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Chris Kobe here has a question. It says, great season. I also liked Victor, the cop story arc, and his scenes looking for the killer. They had this thriller feel. How did you guys approach those scenes? Obviously, we all cut Victor scenes. But Chris, maybe we'll start with you. Obviously, there's certainly a lot of scenes there with Victor as he's looking for the killer. What was the overall kind of approach to that?
Oh, was that for Hugo?
For both of you, but we'll start with you, Chris.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, Chris, man, you go for it, man. You're doing great. Great scene, by the way. I came in, the scenes that I cut for him were really more like, 608. And so his character was already, really well developed. And, but it was, he had two sides of his character. He was, we really didn't know which way he was going to go. And he was, kind of playing all angles, but sort of slipping and falling on his face, all the time. And, I took as many sort of influences as I could. I was really inspired by, I did a chase scene with him, and I was really inspired by, Michael Mann, just very, very straight up kind of like, Heat or Thief, kind of stuff. And so, I guess you get that chance with Victor to play, both, the earnest cop and the sort of, good and bad husband, sort of misogynist husbands. I mean, I'll turn it over to Hugo. I guess with Victor's character, you get so many chances to play the different sides of him.
Yeah, Hugo. I mean, maybe Hugo, you can add to that, and also kind of, I guess, also wanted to ask you, I guess, at the same time, talking to that, we are all cutting different episodes, right? The same thing. Like, we're all doing our own episodes. I mean, like, talk about like that. The communication. Is there communication with other editors? See what you are doing. Are you watching the other episodes? How is everyone kind of on the same page, or is everyone kind of doing their own thing? So that's that cohesive season, right? It's not just we're all doing kind of our thing.
Sure. I mean, first of all that spirituality stuff with the character. I mean, I think Chris stole all that from me. I mean, that was Chris.
Your thing.
So yes, all of that, and then more, which I won't explain here because it'll go over people's heads. But yes, that character, it was cool. It was cool dealing with a new character. It was cool, trying to find his voice, and I guess for me, it's always this dance between like what you're reading from the script, how you're interpreting a character, and then for me, it's always a surprise. I never know what the director is going to come to me with and say like, oh, actually, that's not correct. Or I was thinking about the character more like this. Let's look at takes like this. And you start to shape the performance a little bit based on what the director wants. And then obviously the showrunner. So yeah, it's, there's a lot of conversations and that character, like you said, Chris, he's got two sides, and he's a little complex, and it took a little while to kind of figure out like how much does he care, at what point does he start to care, because you see in the beginning that he doesn't, and there's a certain point where he slowly starts to kind of tip over the edge, where he becomes obsessed. And we had a lot of those early sequences where he's starting to invest himself emotionally and trying to kind of calibrate that a little bit and saying, well, he doesn't care that much yet. Like, at what point does he care? And thankfully the actor was really good, and we had a lot to play with. So it becomes like a lot of things. It becomes about like finding it in the edit, finding about like shaping the character.
I have to jump in too, because there is a scene in 608 that Joaquin cut with Victor and Tensi, with his wife, that I can say like changed basically not at all from when Joaquin first handed it to me for sound to like locked picture. And it's when Tensi suggests that she maybe get a job, and he sort of pulls his more like Marlon Brando-ish kind of like, I'm the man, and you're not going to work, and there's old-fashioned tension, there's modern tension, and Joaquin literally, that scene, maybe I don't know if you can show it. You probably didn't.
I didn't clip it. But it was right after.
But I mean, seriously, the way that you constructed that scene, it didn't change. Like you understood the character, you understood the emotion, you understood her and what he meant to, and she means a lot to him, and he's treating her terribly at times, and that's sort of the kind of beautiful tragedy, because there's so much love behind the dysfunction, and it's sort of a microcosm of a lot of the larger themes of the show. So although we're not going to see that tonight, I think one of the best scenes in his arc. You cut it, and it was like, okay, it's just gonna stay that way. And like even after you left the show, like that scene went director's cut, it went untouched. Producers cut, it went untouched. It did not get noted by the studio, and it was just like, okay, yeah, I was like, well, that's the scene. So
that was a great scene. Great scene to kind of just working with Victor Luis Gerardo Mendez. I watched them. I watched them, in Club de Cuervos. Obviously, you've seen it, but. It's a whole different character, and to see him in this role was amazing, and I really, really enjoyed that storyline. I gotta say, it was great.
That was great. Joaquin, we had to say, your family's from Tijuana, right?
Yeah, so to me, working on
so you have a connection to this storyline a little bit, right?
I do. That's the thing. It's the beauty about working on the show is that, well, I don't know if I want to say beauty, right? But it's just that especially season 3, it's stuff that I lived through. I used to live in Tijuana in the up until I went to college. But in the 90s, I grew up in Tijuana. I experienced all those events. The Cardinals shooting. In this case, the newspaper editor. Getting shot. That was, based on Jesus Blanco Ornelas, and that La Voz is El Zeta, right? Newspaper in Tijuana. That actually happened. Colos's death, like I said. All these things, right? I'm getting hit up by people, texts about all the Narco Juniors, right? They're like, I went to school with that guy. It's all crazy, and also then just simply the attention to detail, like Alex wearing this Letterman jacket is based on the high school that he went to in San Diego, because they would live in Tijuana and they all went to private schools in San Diego. So I definitely lived through all that, and I hear it from my family also, like who lived from Sinaloa. My dad is from Sinaloa, and his family, especially with seasons 1 and 2, right? That stuff that happened over there. Again, Narcos is based on, this is real life. All right. Obviously, things are changed for dramatic moments, but this is all based on this stuff happened, right?
Yeah, we would have on our long lunches where we'd be like, "Hey, cappuccino? Sure, let's extend lunch for an hour and a half." We go get our cappuccino, and you'd tell us how like you knew some of these characters, or you knew people that were connected to these characters in some way, and that was really interesting to be able to pick your brain a little bit about what it was like to grow up in that environment, knowing that these narco juniors or these some of these characters or people that were associated with them were in your community and were growing up around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's actually you obviously heard a lot of bad stuff. From people, but it was around you. You grew up around. Going say to a bar, a club, whatever. You knew who was around you, right? Obviously, you just keep it cool, do your thing. But that is what you literally, what I at least grew up in. People here in this region, in a lot of parts of Mexico, obviously, but and obviously we're still in it today, right? Sure, man. Right? It's something that's never going to end.
I have a lot of family. I have a big family, as most of us, Mexicans do. I have a lot of cousins that come up to me at parties and they're like, hey man, what's the next season coming out? And we get talking, and they're like, yeah, man, like, you know, I have cousins that grew up in Juarez. I have cousins that grew up in Guadalajara, you know, and Tijuana or whatever. And they're sharing like, oh yeah, I saw that happen. Like I was around at that time, and we got to see some of these events happen in real time, and it's and they enjoy the show. I'm like, are you guys into the show, or like, is this, does this cross a line for you? And they're like, no, like we understand. Like this is it's such an interesting perspective, and I think the showrunners really tapped into something with the corruption and how the American government is involved, and just really like giving it like a nice wide scope, and showing how it's not just the narcos.
Absolutely.
Right? And some of these narcos, they get into the business with good intentions sometimes, and they get corrupted and they turn evil or whatever. But, they did a great job of just kind of like, showing the reality of the situation. It's not just Mexico, it's the US and it's the world. The world. The world is getting like, is bringing is allowing these narcos to exist. So I really appreciate it for that.
Jumping into the show, I knew very little about Colosio. I knew very little about that tragedy, and I think in being raised in this country, we focus obviously a lot on ourselves, and not enough pointing outwards. And Joaquin, I remember talking with you a lot about Colosio, and and so I watched the 1994 documentary series, and we talked a lot about how this was a Bobby Kennedy moment. This was the assassination, and this was this really represented the death of hope in so many ways. And so the ripples of the tragedy and what that does to the spirit of people. And I think that flashy gangsters are always going to get eyeballs. People are always going to watch stories. I watch Peaky Blinders. It's another it's historical fiction. But I understand why people watch gangster shows. But I do think that one of the things about Narcos that it does so well, better than an American gangster show, is show the utter lack of alternative for the people who end up, in this business. For me as a viewer, as a participant in the creativity, it becomes a sort of, well, yeah, of course they got into that. There wasn't a choice. There wasn't something else that they could go into. There wasn't a bootstrap path. And so in many ways, I'm not forgiving or excusing anyone's behavior, but it's about empathy. It's like, if you can empathize with people, well, then you can watch anything. And I think that the writers and the directors and people like you guys who have lived with the history can bring that kind of empathy. And I think that's why people around the globe fucking love this show, because you empathize with the characters.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's a different this type of connection, and with this show that at least for me, like I said, like from the beginning was just kind of I remember walking into the Narcos Mexico offices and seeing like what it was going to be about, and I was like, man, oh my God, they're doing something like this. I'm reliving my childhood, right? It's like, it was pretty nuts. But hey, I want to tell everyone, we're going to start kind of wrapping this down. And if you got any more questions for Hugo and Chris, hit us up. Well, we're going to start winding down. I know, it's Friday night. You're probably all going to want to go out there, hit the club or something. Or someone already went to go, Nick said he went to go deal with his kids. And so I know you guys have families. So I'm going to be respectful of your time for sure. I guess kind of to kind of, start winding it down. I mean, like, we've talked about editing, telling stories and whatnot. I guess for people that are watching here that are interested in doing this, that want to be editing, film and or scripted TV shows in Hollywood, what advice would you give to someone that is, whatever, in Michigan, Long Island, wherever, it says, I want to be over there in Hollywood. I want to be editing the stuff you guys are editing. Whoever wants to start first.
I mean, I could start like, I think if you've, being dedicated to your goal and just talking to people. I know, I was just telling Chris, I listened to you guys' podcast that you guys say together. And I think it's so beneficial to just like decide what your goal is and start to share it with people. Because that's the only way you're going to do it. I couldn't have done it alone. I couldn't have done it without the support of, Andrew, who, knew that I was capable of doing the job and brought me over into the position. And, even like, some of these guys that I knew there and just, saying it, speaking it into existence, whether it's writing it down in your journal or telling your wife or telling whoever it is, just like speaking it, getting involved in community and sharing it. And now all of a sudden you have people holding you accountable because suddenly someone's going to call you and say, hey, I know you wanted to do that thing. There's a position that opened up. Are you ready? Are you going to do it? And all of a sudden now you find yourself in a position where all you have to do is say yes. So I think that's a big thing. It's just making that choice and then trying to live into that, like sharing that, moving forward, taking actions, having people hold you accountable, all that stuff. And then obviously you need to have some of the skills to support that. So that means that you're cutting stuff on your own, you're doing short films, you're, whatever it is that you need to do to acquire the skills so that when that moment comes, so that you're ready. So for me, that was the biggest thing is just having people in my corner already like rooting for me and already kind of allowing me to step into situations. And that's huge. I mean, there's a lot of people, whether it be, Tim King, our post producer at Narcos, who gave me the shot and trusted me to like take over the main title and then trusted me to sit in the seat and knew that I can do it, or the showrunners or whatever, the people, even the people going back to like people in the marketing stage that gave you those opportunities. Like, you have to be ready and you have to let them know that that's what you want.
Well, that's what I always say to people. It's like, you got to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
You got to project your goals, what you want to do. Tell people what it is that you want to do. Because honestly, simply is, if you don't, no one's going to know what you want to do. You can't be running on a guess, right? But it's really putting yourself out there, putting the energy out there. And
I mean, hey, listen. Eventually, I would love to, transition into directing myself. I would love to do that. It's something I did back in the day, and I always wanted to do. I ended up editing, and I love that too. But at some point, I went to Carlo and I sat with him, and I had to just tell him like, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
And can I go to set? Can I go visit set? Can I go shadow the director? And that was an uncomfortable situation necessarily, to be in, to put yourself out there. But unfortunately, COVID hit and that didn't happen. But I went and had the conversation with him. I went and had the conversation with Jesse and our other producer who's on set all the time, and just let them know this is something that I wanted. And if the opportunity presented itself and it was convenient and I could be of service to have an editor on set, like that's something that I want to do. And they could say no, but I just needed to at least let them know that it's something that I was interested in.
Right. You got to at least, you obviously know what the outcome can be. There's no guarantees, but at least you said it. Right?
Yeah.
You can live with that.
And just commit. And if you don't achieve your goal, then you make a new goal.
Absolutely.
And you just keep moving and you don't stop. That would be my advice.
I could not say it any better than that. So I that's perfectly said. And to echo a few of your points, your reach should always be further than your grasp, right? You shouldn't be afraid to go for things, and you shouldn't be afraid to say, I went for something and it didn't quite work out, so I'm doing this, and this is how I'm going to repoint myself at my goal. And that, to reiterate one more thing, people, none of this happens without people. You could be the best editor in the world. If people don't support you, you're not going to go anywhere. And the last thing I would say is be a giver. take everything that Hugo said and then read the book Give and Take by Adam Grant. And so there's like there's three matching styles. There's givers, matchers, and takers. Match is like, okay, if you help me out with this, I'll help you out with that. But like then there's people like you, Joaquin, who just give. Who are like, I'm going to help you out. Like I'm not going to ask for anything in return. I'm going to show you that I'm there. You're not going to hear from me tomorrow saying, hey, can I get something in return? From you. And I think that when people on a team see that that's who you are, then you're like gold to them. And so like for me, that was, when we were in producer's cut, I was trying to just take notes, just listen and take notes. And like afterwards, like just give you the notes. And you were taking notes too, and so on and so forth. But it's just always asking myself, like, how can I give to this process? Not how can I get something. And that I think that's what I would tell people if they want to move forward, if they're feeling stuck. It's about people, and it's about giving first before asking for anything in return.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know. Sometimes editors were known as being introverted and antisocial because we work alone all day long. But I since I moved into the editor seat, I've had some really great opportunities, and I haven't stopped working, and I haven't stopped getting calls, and almost none of those calls are based on my resume. Yeah. They're all based on somebody saying, you need to hire this guy.
Yeah.
He's collaborative, or, those are the words that I hear: collaborative, easygoing, patient, right? A lot of directors require a lot of patience on the other end to like explore and to try stuff. And sometimes you go down a road for days and they go, never mind, put it back. But you have to go down that road, even if sometimes you don't know if it's the right answer. But you have to know enough to know that you don't know, and you have to explore it with them. And that's one of the things that I've learned is like my love for filmmaking, my love for these directors, and supporting them and supporting their vision has gotten me to the point where they bring me on to projects, and they call me to join them on stuff because they know that I'm collaborative and I haven't burned bridges, and you try to just stay open-minded and again, it's not about the resume. It really isn't. That's something that people need to understand, because I've gone for jobs and they go, send us your resume, and I say, okay, let me update it because I've been too busy and they go, oh, never mind. And I go to the interview with no resume. Yeah. Because it's all just based on someone they know, someone that they trust saying, hire this guy. Mm-hmm. And that's the point. That's what you need to get to, is that those personal relationships where they trust you and they know that you're going to support their vision.
Well, that's the thing. I always talk about is, we often talk about, use the word networking, but really what it is building relationships, right? That's the thing. So this is an industry that's based on relationships, and so it's so important to develop those. And if we do have, or someone has a problem with that, say is shy or has a problem communicating, I mean, it's definitely important to work on that, right? I mean, it's deep advice that I got from an editor. It said, hey, man, don't be the quiet one, right? I mean, definitely, again, put yourself out there, meet people, talk to people, let people know who you are. Who are you as a person? So, because like you said, it's not always just simply about the work. It's more about you, who you are.
But also read the room.
That's another part of it.
I'm sure we've all encountered the person that walks into the room and says, hey, I got an idea. Let me tell you, let me force my idea upon you. And you're like, who are you?
Well, yeah, I'm sure we all got some stories about that. And that's the thing. It's like, yes, an important part of again, editing is the politics, navigating the politics of the cutting room. And so that's also just important, because it is all about, again, you're just constantly communicating with people. As an editor, you're more of a manager. I mean, you have to deal with those politics. You're dealing with we often say we're like a therapist, right, in that room. So we're not even here talking about actual cutting things. And I mean, right? I mean that's the thing about editing that no one really talks about, or most people don't know about, and it's a huge part of this job.
You both touched on that, and I would say that again. Is that you what's your approach to directors and producers is, one thing, we're talking about. And it's like, it's you have to give yourself creatively and not hold back to their vision, even if you 100%, don't think it'll work. Because they can tell if you're holding back, they can tell, they know, and then the trust is gone. And then 1 out of 4 times that you think it's 100% not going to work, it works way better than anything that you had thought of. And that is, I think that's one of the hardest things for editors to get over with, because what's put us in this position to begin with is like, we know, we have a vision, and we know, and we and then we're alone, and we feel like so that's amplified. Like, okay, I can put this into place, and it can be so hard when you're starting out to knock all that over again, and then build everything up, and then to give yourself to creatively to somebody else's idea. And if you can do that, then you can make progress. And everybody gets there eventually. You're going to have to get there if you want to do this type of work.
And that's huge. That's a huge lesson I had to learn sitting in the chair and scripted, was to realize like, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe that's okay to say that, like, maybe I don't know. Let me try it. So I always try it. So if the director says like, hey, what do you think about this? And I think it's a bad idea. I say, you know what? Let's try it. Let me see. Yes. Let's see it. Because what happens is sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't at all. But what you find is you get to that third solution, the one where it's like, it really is a collaboration. It's like, well, oh, that didn't work. But wait a second, hold on. What about this? And then it works. And you're like, we never would have gotten there if we didn't go down that road that you knew was wrong, but at least you started exploring and opening it up and getting out of your kind of closed vision that you, like you said, Chris, that you created by yourself without someone else in the room. So a lot of times I bring in my assistant, and even if it's digitally, I bring him in the room. I say, hold on, let me bring my assistant, David. Let me bring him in. And I'll sit them and I'll say like, hey, David, here's what's going on. We're trying to come up with a solution for this. We don't have an out for this scene. We don't have an intro into this scene. Just come into the room and just start like spitballing with us. Like, what do you think? Yeah. And he'll start just like, and then just by having him in the room.
we got another guest.
I think that might be it for
That's
me.
it. That's you're done. Cool. We'll wrap it up.
But I mean, you're absolutely right.
That third solution is key.
And like you're saying, Hugo, it's like if you start out you can start out super, super low in this business, and then if it's the editor and the showrunner, and then like if they both have a different idea, they're going to ask you. They're going to say, what do you think? And so like you might have have done nothing all day, but the editor and the showrunner are going to ask you what you think. When you're just starting out, and so if you're paying attention, it's going to show. And it doesn't mean you have to hit a home run, but if you show that you're paying attention, then all the better for you, and that's how you get involved.
Absolutely, yeah. I always have prepared. I need to know my episode very well in and out, because I need to have an answer. Someone's asked me something about it. I need to have at least provide information, or maybe a solution or something. I can't just be like, You need to say something. You got to be confident about it, and you got to trust your gut. And you just got to do it. You got to go for it.
Yeah, and Hugo, I think I have to say my kids went ape at about the same time. I locked my office door. That was my secret move. I heard the bath going on. I heard a little activity going on. Yeah, it's a little. You might not have a lock on that door.
Cool. Well, hey guys, I appreciate you guys.
Community. I appreciate you. I'm gonna get off right now, but
for sure, Hugo.
Thank you, Joaquin. Thank you, Chris. That was fun.
Thank you, Hugo. Good seeing you, man.
See you, Hugo.
Chris, well, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
I'll see you Monday morning.
I'll see you Monday. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you, and congrats, dude, on some great work on season 3 of Narcos Mexico. You're gonna keep doing great, dude. And we've been on. How we said before, and in the podcast, if you haven't listened to it, everyone out there, we've been on this journey together, Chris and I.
Yeah,
it's been great doing it with you.
It's been an honor, and it's still an honor. to keep working with you, and I'm so psyched about it, and it's fun. It's fun to talk to people. I look forward to talking to more people, and hope everybody had fun tonight.